So most nonprofits don't even get grants until year three. They're not eligible for them until year three. But I managed to get mine in year two, and I am going to share with you exactly how I did that. So here's the thing. Most organizations just look at grant as this like end all be all, this like savior thing that is going to help them do their mission and help them, get the funding and the resources that they need. But most organizations are also not even ready for grants. They don't even know what that looks like, what that process is, what it really means to be grant ready. And I think most importantly, they haven't put in the work in their basic foundations in order to really get that. But I did it, and I did it without even realizing that I was doing it. But this is how I ended up getting those grants in year two instead of having to wait 3 or 4 or 5 years into running my organization. So the very first thing really is just getting super clear on your mission, your vision, and your values. I don't know how to explain or express this enough. Just being really clear about what you're doing and how you're doing it and where you're going is paramount. And being able to repeat that stuff. I often tell people that if you cannot repeat your mission in your sleep, then that's the first thing you need to work on. If your board cannot repeat your mission in their sleep, that is the first thing that you need to work on, right? You just need to get really clear on how you articulate what it is that you do and why it's important. The other thing is just being really clear about your brand and having a brand. Look, people are like 90% visual, and so they want to see something that looks really good. I know some people think different things need to happen first. I think this is really important just because it is the basis on how you are going to articulate your mission, because your brand is not just your logo, right? It's not just a website. It's not just pretty colors. It's how you speak. It's who you're speaking to. It is the personality of your organization. It is the content that you use and the way that you go about that. It's not just the what, it's the how. And all of that is really super important when you're beginning to articulate and speak to your audience and speak to donors and speak to funders, and more importantly, speak to your community, and being able to get really clear feedback about that before you even go for this kind of funding is so super important. And so those first two things I think are just mission critical, being clear about your mission, and then that branding is like how you then present that mission. And those two things are just the very, very basics of your foundation. Now, this is where I give just a little bit of a plug, a little hey. These two things are what we cover in our first two module of the Nonprofit Launch Academy. It is a digital course that I have created to help nonprofits fully launch. And right now, the first two modules are live, and that is just helping people get into that very basic foundation and build these things that are really going to help you level up and get the funding that you're wanting to get. So that's just my little plug. Toot toot, little tooting of my horn for the Nonprofit Launch Academy and what we're building over there. But then moving on, because once you've got that mission and once you've got that brand, the other thing that is really important is keeping track of everything. And I mean everything, like literally everything. What we did was just keep track of all of our wins. We knew exactly where we had been, and then we knew like where we were going, like where we'd come from, all of these things, all of these little steps, like where we started out on our social media to where we'd ended that year was really important, understanding those metrics. And I'm going to be crystal clear, at that time, I didn't have a specific strategy. I didn't really have great systems in place, but I was keeping track of things, right? I was keeping track of the money that was coming in. I was keeping track of our followers on social media. I was keeping track of the people that were interested in the people that I was talking to. I knew what they were saying about our content. I knew what they were saying about the organization. I knew what they had been looking for and what they were wanting, where they wanted to go. And I kept track of everything. But I not only kept track of just our wins and we're able to articulate our wins. We put out an impact report at the end of the year. That impact report was like one page. It was one page, but I put it out anyway, just to show people that what we were doing and that we were having impacts. But again, aside from just that impact and those wins that I was recording, I was taking stock of everything financially. I knew where every penny went. And even if it was just like a donation, right? I still asked, like, how much did this cost? Because all of that was going to factor in to our budget and what we needed to look on or to look at later on. Like, all of these numbers are super important. So when I say keep track of everything, I mean keep track of everything. Keep track of the wins, keep track of the losses, see where you need to improve, and make sure you have all of that information. Because when I finished up that year and we had that little one pager impact report, what I was able to do was then put together a sponsorship package which listed like all of these things, listed all of the wins that we had, listed everything that we were doing and the impact that we had on our community. It then helped me to target very specific funders and very specific donors, just so I knew exactly who aligned with what we were doing. And even in that sponsorship package, I got really super personal, and I knew exactly what this particular organization was looking for. And I want to tell you, even because in that first year, I had applied for a grant, and I think I had asked for like $500 for an event, and I didn't get that. I didn't get that at all. They were like, whatever. But the next year I applied and I had all these systems in place, and they gave us $2,500. And I was like, oh, hey, like, thank you. Thank you for that. Right. So I think all of these things really came into play. And the other thing, even with our branding, that I want to go back to is people would always talk about how we made like our community look good. We made our members look good. It wasn't just us looking good, but we made them look good as well. And I think that was just super, super important, that they could see that we weren't just out for ourselves, right? We weren't just trying to get money for ourselves. We were literally trying to build up our community. We were trying to amplify our community. And they could see that in the way we had our website. They could see it in the polish that we had put into it, into the work, into the effort that we went into amplifying the people in our community and making sure that those businesses that we were associated with looked really good as well. And so people were like, yeah, we want to celebrate you. We want to amplify you. We want to have a part of that and be part of that mission. Because one thing you want people to do is not just be curious about you, right? We're not just building awareness. You want to make them believe in you. And a lot of that just, again, comes back to you being able to articulate that mission and looking good at it while you're doing it, right? You want people to believe that you know what you're doing. You want them to believe in your mission. And that is when they start to take action and they start giving and they start donating, and then they start telling their friends about what y'all are doing, and they're liking your post and they're sharing your post. And I say this as a means for you to get grants. And I say this as a means for you to get funding and for donors, but it also is just a way to amplify your mission. Because this system and me doing these really three simple things, right? Just getting that mission, vision, and values done, getting the branding clear and super like just having clarity about who we were and how we were going about things. And then three, keeping track of all of these things basically laid the foundation for us getting everything. So it wasn't just the funding, and it wasn't just coming to donors. It was getting partnerships, whether they were corporate partnerships or other businesses that wanted to partner with us. We were a membership organization, and so that brought in more members as other members were telling their friends about it, and people would see us. It wasn't just like social media growing, because I mean, in all honesty, we started with probably like 300 followers on Instagram, and I was able to level that up quite a bit. But even then, I think when I left the organization, we probably had just over like 1,000 followers, but we were still able to have like all of this impact and do all of these things simply because we were able to articulate our mission and what we did in a way that people wanted to latch onto and they got really, really excited about and they wanted to join in the fun. And they were like, we want to be a part of this. And that came with its own problems and its own issues. And we can get into that in another video. But I just wanted to get into now how those really three simple, easy things started getting us grants. And it wasn't just that one like $2,500 grant we got. We got three different grants that year, all of like varying amounts that really helped us to push our mission forward and really got us connected with some big people. We got a grant from the city to help us um, amplify their sustainability plans and what they were doing as well. And it was just a really, really good time. And I didn't even realize this until probably like years later as people kept talking about, no, you don't get grants until year three. Um, and me realizing, oh, wait, I got my grants before that. And as I would talk with more people, I realized that this is why. And as I would help other people, I'm like, this is why, because we were just really clear on what we were doing. People understood, people believed, people trusted us because we looked good, because we looked very professional, because we looked very polished, because we came across, because we knew how to articulate exactly what we were doing. And I do want to clarify, I'm like, I don't necessarily mean like professional in the sense that you need to be like conventionally professional. We're not trying to uplift like some of these white supremacist ideals, right? We're not into that. We were very much us, and I say polished because we were just clear and clean about who we were, and we promoted that and stuck with that. We were very inclusive organization, and we looked at sustainability very differently as well. I think it was really important for us to recognize that sustainability came in all shapes and sizes, and different people had different values, and all of that was valid. But again, the way we were able to articulate that and get that across to not just our community, but to these donors and the different funders really helped to grow and cement who we were in the community. And that is just the advice that I want to keep passing on to you and make sure that everybody knows, because even as people get into year 3 and 4 and 5, they don't have these like very basic things done in order to get them grant ready or help them to understand that they are grant ready, right? So it's really, really important to just have these things, like have this idea of who you are and what you're doing and where you're going and how you're going to get there, and then have those finances like really on point and really know what you're doing and keeping track of those things and keeping clean records. Because a lot of grants, especially some of these bigger ones, you're going to have to turn over those financial records, right? They're going to want to see what you're spending your money on and how you're spending it and how you're budgeting, and whether like the money you're asking for is really going to go to good use, and that the money that they're giving you is actually going to have the impact that you say that you want to have. And so that if you're not doing all of that work on a smaller scale, they're not going to trust you with a lot, right? Like I think there's a scripture or some saying or something that's like, if you're faithful with little, you'll be faithful with much. And it's this exact concept. If you can't really take care and manage, a $500 a year budget, like why are they going to give you $10,000 in order to do what you want to do? And so that's what I want to leave you with. That's just what I want you to know, and what I want you to understand is that it can seem tedious and hard, but it's really simple in order to get yourself grant ready and to be ready for that funding to come in. Like lay that foundation now. Like lay it now, do the hard stuff in the simplest ways, and it just makes it easier as you grow and expand when you already have those systems in place. So that is what I'm gonna leave you with. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you guys, I don't know, are appreciative of just of those little things and understanding like what it's going to take to really get you where you want to go and get your organization where you want it to. Because I believe that you probably have this incredible mission, and you're looking for funding, and you're looking for grants and you're trying to get them, and it's hard and it's difficult and the landscape is just so wild right now. But you can do it, and it just takes getting really clear and strategic on your part. And then also, just don't discount your smaller funders. Like 70% of donations to organizations are like individual donors, and it's not necessarily like foundations and all these corporate sponsors. Like it is the people in your community that believe what you're doing, that see the impact firsthand and first up. And I think that is more powerful than anything. But this this concepts, these little simple things, these little tips, these practices, these tricks, whatever you want to call them, are going to help with that as well. They're going to help with your community as well as these larger donors and corporate sponsors. So y'all have a good day and go get your funding. Go get your funding. Go get your funding. Go get your funding.